I know you're sitting, waiting as usual at 1 o'clock. Trying to find out what's on top, on the block. Today is no difference. But we have a special guest in the house. And he's going to be with us for most of the hour. You know the focus today? I just play the voice, you'll have an idea what he's talking about.
The police need to do more to stop these threats to the nation and stop these threats to the public peace. I commend them for the preemptive physical presence in Marigot. I commend them for the way they handled the riots in Salisbury. But they have to start bringing these fellas in for questioning when they make these threats.
He speaks like the Prime Minister. Maybe I should ask Mr. James, just by what? First question, who is Tony Astafan? So who do he thinks that he is?
Good afternoon, Matt. And
good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners. In the context of what you just played, as to who is the biggest threat to the peace and security of this country, it is Anthony Astafan. Anthony Astafan, to my mind, has directly urged the people of Dominica to kill me.
To kill you?
Yeah. Matt,
how did you do that?
Matt, in 2005, in Trafalgar, Astafan said this: "What do you use to kill a cockroach?" He answered his own question: the shoe. So when I say Edison James, say cockroach, what does that tell you? Look at the words. What do you use to kill? The word kill is there. He says a shoe. The shoe represents the Labour Party. So when I say Edison, say cockroach, to my mind, that is saying to his listeners, Edison James regard him as a cockroach.
And kill him.
And kill him. And he's directing that at labor rights to begin with. That is my understanding.
That's fair comment. That's fair comment, yeah. Based on the statement.
Yes. Now, Matt, Spags Hector John has written a wonderful piece. I think he calls it The Rants of Anthony Astafan. And in it, he reminds us of the situation with the Tutsis and the Hutsis and the Hutus in Rwanda. Remember, Rwanda is the place where you had about 800,000 people who were murdered in a genocidal situation. And what did they use to fuel that hatred? The cockroach. They described the Tutsis as cockroaches. Cockroaches, and think about it, Matt. Cockroaches were the fire, the tool, the symbol that was used to fuel the fire, if you like, that ended up with 800,000 or more people dead. Anthony Astafan knows about that, and he knows what he's talking about. Because in that piece where I quoted, he went on, to say, after he said, when I say Edison James, say cockroach. He went on to say, when I say Tim, that's Julius Timothy, say cacador. When I say crazy Frankie Bellot, say mosquito. In recent, and I've said something which I'll say before, again, that this man does not like, indeed, I think he hates black people whom he cannot control. You hear the description here, cockroach, mosquito. He describes us black people as snakes and crabs. You see the description describing us black people in this animalistic way. Animals at the lowest level, crawling animals. Matt, you will agree with me that anytime you see a cockroach, anybody sees a cockroach, what they want to do is to kill the cockroach.
First thing.
They see a mosquito, it lands on you. What you want to do is to kill the mosquito. You see a snake, you want to kill it. A crab, you also want to kill it, only that some people eat it. You understand? So he's taken black people in this country down to the lowest level, so that he instills in their mind the question of killing. You understand? What is significant, though? I have never heard him use that description of somebody like Michael Astafan, who is a political person as well. But he won't use it because they're of the same ethnic group. So I am convinced, and I want to convince Dominicans, that this man hates black people.
You think he's racist?
He hates black people who he cannot control. When I said that at the vigil the other day, I heard him saying that he has a black wife and he has part black children, but you can control them. Hear what I said. He hates black people whom he cannot control. And I want to say to those people who are influenced by him that you are not exonerated, you are not exempt. Once he can control you, he will give you the impression that he likes you. Just like, remember, a hunter loves his dog, but he will take his dog out to the hunting area. That dog will put the agouti in hole, and then the hunter will take the agouti, eat the succulent flesh, and throw the bone to the dogs. That hunter will not have his dog come in his bedroom. So he will probably love you as a hunter loves his dog. And also what he's done, and I said this about, he's using black people to fight and beat black people. Simeon Albert is an example. A man who years ago was able to stand on his own 2 feet, had his furniture business, his house. Right now, he's working for senior counsel. So you hear Simeon Albert as the agent, as it were, for this man on radio, denigrating black people as well. Okay? Detesticularized by Tony Astafan, who pays for the station program on which Simeon works. That is what they do. That is what this man does. He hates black people whom he cannot control. And now you hear him telling the police, the police chief and everybody, and the prime minister and the president, all of whom he can control, that they must go after people who do not support them. Remember, this is the man who sat in the studio at DBS and directed our current president, Charles Savre, to go and investigate who was the person who was writing in the newspaper article. I can't remember the name now, but go to the Chronicle. And Savre dutifully directed the police to go to the Chronicle to find out who was, I can't remember the name of the columnist, okay? Of course, they went there, and I think Mr. Barron told them, get out of this place. This is the man who also told the police to go to Lennox Linton's place because he had leaked Skerritt's information, only to find that it is he, Tony, who leaked the information. The police are up to now still should be going to this man and saying to him that you are involved in public mischief, that you knew you had done it, you directed them to the police to Lennox home. But that is what happens. The police moves dutifully at the request of Tony Astafan. He does things, he incites, and they do nothing about it. Remember, he said, with respect to the gun emanuel issue, that he had spoken to people who were on the scene immediately after the fire. Matt, that is a prime witness that the police had to go to. What did you know? Who did you see? But they let him get away with it. So this is the man who is the greatest danger, a real and present danger to the peace and tranquility of this country. We must not allow Tony Astafan to continue to spew his hatred and to fuel fire against black people in this country. I make no bones about it. You ask me if he's a racist, Matt. I think you asked me that because you have the view that he's a racist. And if you have that view, I'm not going to seek to disabuse your mind. And if the people of this country have that view, I'm not going to disabuse their mind. So that is what we have here. And I'm advising, I'm warning our people to not let this man do this to us. And unfortunately, he has total control over Mr. Skerritt. And I don't think Mr. Skerritt can extricate himself from that control. I think Mr. Skerritt has apparently agreed that Astafan speaks for him 99% of the time, right? So what Astafan says and does we have to conclude that that is with the approval, the approbation, the encouragement, if you like, of Mr. Skerrit. You understand? So we need to be very careful of that. But Mr. Skerrit can't extricate himself, because I suspect that Astafan is in a position to blackmail Mr. Skerrit. So Skerrit cannot extricate himself from the clutches of this man who hates black people whom he cannot control. We are 99% black in this country.
Hold that thought, Mr. James. I want to go back to this Rwanda story that you made reference to. Let's listen for 2 minutes. They call it godless agenda. Says kill the cockroaches, we need to kill them all. Mr. James, I guess your point is you're being driven home even more.
Matt, I spent 9 years in the United Kingdom. I would say, in terms of my experience, there was relatively mild racism in England, where I enjoyed my time there. And I feel strongly that I cannot have come back to my country and to have a situation in which a man who is of another ethnic grouping, if you like, can so denigrate my people in the way that this man is doing. Okay? People say that, he was born in Dominica, so that's all right. Yes, we all embrace all of us. But when a man decides to go out on a limb like that to denigrate black people, then I stand firmly on this thing. And the thing is, the man is here, but he's not of us. But when last have you seen, well, you probably have seen him, but
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, you don't see him except at the airport and at the court. He doesn't mix with us. You don't see him at funerals, even while he's so much a Labour Party advocate, if you like. You see functions that they have, a bridge opening there, a village council. You don't see him mingling with us. The only time you see that man is at the height of an general election campaign, when his interest has to be protected. So you'll see him there. Other than that, you don't see him, you don't mix with us. Okay? So that is where we are, and we need to be mindful of this. So he is a clear and present danger when he talks to the security of our people. And the bad thing about it is that he controls the people whom we elect and the people who our elected representatives select to important positions. So this thing you see there, and he has the audacity and the unmitigated gall to recently refer to Margot people as parasites. One of the most hard-working groups of people, the man refers to Margot people as parasites. So you see his mindset: cockroach, mosquito, snake, crab, parasites. But you don't think of referring to us in those ways, but that is it comes out naturally. So Simeon Albert, for instance, and all those people he controlled, Ghost and all of them, must understand that they are similarly regarded by this man as cockroach, mosquito, crabs, snakes. That's what they regarded at. So we then have this situation. As I said, he controls everything. And you hear him urging the police to do X and to do Y. And in so many cases, the police dutifully do it. They just took disarm Wayne James. I don't know whether you know Wayne James is my brother.
Yes, I do.
Yes, they just disarmed him. This is a man who everybody tells you worked diligently in his time in the police service. He served in some very sensitive areas, in the drug squad, in the Coast Guard section. You know the encounters he would have had there. It is not unreasonable to think that there's some people there who remember him.
Personal security for the Prime Minister.
Okay. Yes. So this is a man who has served in these sensitive areas. As you know, he has a business place up in a relative remote area. He lives in a relative remote area. 14, 15 years, he has had no difficulty. They took his firearm on the Saturday, and by Monday afternoon, his house is ransacked. It begs the question. Then I think I heard a quote at your station this morning that when a nation is to be destroyed, they first disarm them or something of the sort. That's from Adolf Hitler. Okay, so he's disarmed. How many more are to be disarmed? I have a catapult, I have a slingshot. So if they want it, I can give it to them. They don't have to come and ransack my place to get it. Okay, so that I suspect. When we think about what happened to Wayne James, and we heard Astafan, the man who hates black people whom he cannot control, we heard him not long before they went to Wayne James's place. Okay, so we have to be prepared for this kind of thing. Is it a strategy to disarm a certain group of people so that it makes it easier for them to be dealt with? It is not far-fetched, and it is something that we need to be very mindful of. We've been a peaceful country, and while people say
you're saying, Mr. James, everything that we're seeing happening in recent times is something more. You read it as something more.
Yes, we're reading something more in it, and we have to read something more into it. That is how we'll be prepared for whatever should happen. You cannot continue to tell people to be peaceful while you are brutalizing them. You are dehumanizing them. You are denying them equal opportunities. It is wrong. It is wrong. And so we have the situation with the hospital at Marigot. And this man again comes out and talks about Marigot people in these denigrating kind of ways. And this way he calls us parasites. It cannot be fair for a group of people to be denied an opportunity for optimum health care, as is the case with respect to the Marigot Hospital. It cannot be. And look at the contempt with which they're treating the people of the Northeast. Do you know, Matt, Mr. Skerritt leaves here and he goes to England, to speak to the people in England about what is happening in Marigot Hospital. But not Mr. Skerritt, not the Minister of Health, not the Permanent Secretary, not any of the technical administrative people in the Ministry of Health have found it appropriate to engage the people of the Northeast, whether they do it in Calibishi or Wesley or Woodford Hill, Marigot or the Kalinago territory, to sit with the people who are directly affected and to speak to them about the situation with respect to the Marigot Hospital, the total contempt with which they deal with the people in the Northeast. And with respect to Marigot in particular, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind when you see what has happened, what is happening on the ground, that there is a deliberate position of this government to punish the people of Marigot. But last night I paid particular attention coming from the airport. There's a bridge called the Mantipo Bridge.
Which one is that?
It is the one just before. There's the Melville Hall Bridge. As soon as you get out of the airport and heading towards Marigot, that's the Melville Hall Bridge. The next bridge after that is the Mantipo Bridge.
Okay.
That is the only bridge that you have to stop. 2 vehicles cannot pass on that bridge. That bridge has been there. They did the road works from Pokase going to the airport, but they reached Pegua and they stopped with the renovation work there.
Right.
And then they passed through, and when they cleared the village of Marigot, they started something again and they did the bridge over at Melville Hall. They completely ignored that narrow bridge, the Mantipo Bridge. They did no work on the road through the village. That was deliberate, Matt. Deliberate. Okay? So when we see all these things, remember the major contribution that Margaret has made and is making to the economy of the country. Madonna's been the largest contributor to the economy for many years. Margaret was the largest contributor to the banana revenue, and other crops as well. And you treat Margaret like that. If you involve in fisheries, Margaret is there. If you involve in root crops, Margaret is there. Coconuts, Margaret is there. Bananas, Margaret is there. Everything. And for you to be contemptuously treating a village like that, it's just wrong. And in fact, that is outside of your oath to, as leaders of this country, to discharge your duties without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So when this hate of black people whom he cannot control calls Margaret people parasites and tells us that the government has done well for Margaret in the context of this discussion, it is again a manifestation of a man who is vicious and vindictive.
All right, a number of people trying to call in. Let me allow them an opportunity to ask a question here. Hello.
How are you doing, my brother?
Hello.
Good day, Mr. James. I just wanted to call and just thank Mr. James for this delivery. Are we still on that?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Oh yeah. I thought his message was very pointed and true. What I want to call on is the other people of the Carl Nazis, the Ivor Nazis, the other Astafans. You guys need to start speaking up. I hope you get the message. We're tired of this, and your silence is becoming very deafening. We want these people to start speaking out against this Anthony Astafan. We have the others. We've accepted you guys as brothers and sisters. We've treated you as friends. And right now, this polarization that Anthony Astafan is building up in this place might have some serious repercussions for more than Anthony Astafan. So I'm calling on you guys in this family and the extended families. It's time to start speaking out openly against this garbage by Anthony Astafan.
So what is your description of Tony Astafan? Who do you really believe that he is?
Anthony Astafan is an opportunist, Matt. Anthony Astafan is about more than Anthony Astafan. Anthony Astafan is about his business as a lawyer and ensuring that this relationship as senior counsel exists, that he keeps on milking millions from my country. And Anthony Astafan is the extension of a family and the benefits and the IPUs and all these benefits that come because of the link of this labor party in Anthony Astafan. So it's economics more than anything else. And this is getting detrimental to our country. I have no time for his, I'm not on no racist thing with Anthony. I'm calling on the other people, the other members of that clan. It's time to show up themselves. Are you our friends or are you not? Because we've accepted you as brothers and sisters in this family. It's time to speak up.
Thank you. I think the quote that you were looking for this morning on the mass in the cemetery, I think it posted it there. To conquer a nation, first disarm the citizens. It was Adolf Hitler who said that.
That's right, Matt. To conquer a nation, first disarm the citizens. And we've seen that, the beginning of that, with what happened to Wayne James. And the interesting thing, Matt, is that since that thing happened, I took the opportunity to pay attention to court rulings with respect to the seizure or the forfeiture of guns and ammunitions by the commissioners of police. I looked at 3 or 4 court rulings: a Privy Council ruling coming out starting in Trinidad, appeal court ruling, and a high court ruling. And if the commissioner had taken time to inform himself, he would have recognized that he was engaged in something that would lead him nowhere. Because in every one of those cases, and the Trinidad law is exactly, the word in the Trinidad law of the law, particular statute in Trinidad is exactly as it is in Dominica. And you cannot just take a man's firearm and tell him you are unfit. A man who's had his firearm for 6 years, trained and everything like that, suddenly he is unfit. Why is he unfit? You must tell him why is he unfit. Is it because he has publicly told you to take charge of the force? Is it because he has questioned the wisdom of Mr. Skerritt, engaging the country in a $9,000 a month expenditure when he could have avoided that? Is that what it is? So he should have looked at this thing. And going back to this Tony Astafan man and his control, I heard Tony Astafan in St. Kitts with a bottle of Caribbean in his hand, boasting how he had fired 2 attorneys general in Dominica. One of them was David Bruni, and one of them was Ian Douglas. Okay? David Bruni has since denied that Tony fired him. He had resigned. But he was boasting that he had fired 2 attorneys general in Dominica. That's why I tell you, he has complete control. And he looks for prime ministers to control them, not only in Dominica, but in the region as well. That is what he does. So we need to, and what the gentleman said there, the caller who spoke, I think that there is a good bit of wisdom in what he said. Okay?
Another phone call. Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon, Mr. James. Mr. James, blessings upon you, sir, for what you have done for Dominica compared to what is happening now. And the name of the person who used to write on the front is Jean Shaw. And I just want to say to Wayne, just hold strong. When the storms are raging, everything will be falling in place. So have courage, Wayne. I feel your pain, and I know what God's children are going through in this time in Dominica. Take them, Mr. James and Matt. Good afternoon.
Thank you, too. Hello. Hello. I'm not hearing you too clearly. Try again. Hello. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Not listening. Hello.
Yes, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
James. How are you both?
Afternoon, well.
You can add to disarming the people the numerous incidents that's been happening on the island. Look at the healthcare, the breakdown of healthcare. Education has been affected. Just recently, I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, when you referred to all these young men that has been maimed, that is another sign of all the master plan, or you're looking at the bigger picture of what Kerry is about to do to Dominica, or what he's already done to Dominica. And the people really need to pay attention, and they need to wake up. Right now, you can shrug your shoulder and say, oh, God is good and everything is going to be okay. It's not okay. We need to get up and open our eyes and see what's happening. And we are not the minority in Dominica. You can't have a bunch of foreigners coming into Dominica and trying to control the majority. Something is wrong with that picture. So Dominica, wake up. And Tony is a racist. The first thing a racist says to you when you accuse them of being racist, they say to you, my best friend is a black person, or in Tony's case, I'm married to a black person. That does not exempt it. He is a racist, and he needs to stop.
Hello.
Yes, good day, man.
Yeah.
I would like Tony to come on the air and clear himself why he does not represent the Labour Party in Antigua. Same thing, there was a problem in Antigua with election petition. Tony was representing the Labour Party under Lester Bird. After they lost the case at the High Court, Tony went on the media and he made some kind of statement against the same Prime Minister, the same man that he was representing. And Lester Bird called him up and put him straight, and then that is where he was fired from representing the Labour Party. Tony is not an easy person. Anytime Tony cannot get his way with you, that's how he behaves. The man is a racist. The man needs to get out of Dominica one way or the other.
I'm going to get him to respond to comments there that, that he's racist sometime this week. Yes, go.
Let me make the point.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this man, Tony Astafan, engaged in dialogue, in discussion, a panel discussion, or anything like that?
No.
He and other people are together. He hides behind the mic. He hides behind the radio, and he spews out his hatred. He never will get involved in...
And he has to be in charge.
Yes, he never gets involved in a discussion, a public discussion, a dialogue, a debate, or anything like that. He's a coward of the highest order. While he talks, I heard him the other day say he's not afraid of Lennox Linton. One of the 4 times I've seen Tony for the last 5 years, he had 2 bodyguards around him. So what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Okay? So he's a coward of the highest order. I challenge him to get involved in a public debate on the issues in Dominica. You've never seen him or heard him make a contribution to add to the knowledge base, whether it's in law, whether it's in social aspects, economic aspects in this country. You see people like Para doing a piece. You see other people, the law people, the young lawyers getting involved in law, what do you call it? Law fairs or something, or these sort of things where they give advice to people free. He doesn't get involved in that. He doesn't represent poor people in court at all. He's either government or government institutions. He even goes and essentially hijacks work from the government and to feather his nest. I've seen where Tony Astafan has claimed money, $32,000, saying that it has to do with a case involving Northeast Quarry and the Attorney General. There's been no case of Attorney General and Northeast Quarry that has gone to any court. But he claims $32,000. It's in the record in the Parliament and wherever else. Okay, so that is what he does. He must come. He's a coward. But it is another challenge and threat to our peace and security. It's that lady Alex Boyd Knight, man. That lady Alice Boyd Knight. Okay, this is a woman who has publicly acknowledged that she's a vermin. This is a woman who yesterday.
A vermin?
Yeah. Yes. This is a woman who has yesterday told us that she has demons in her. So it is when you see these things happening, it is not just a question, of her work in the Parliament. It reflects what she is. You understand? And there is therefore a challenge to the question of peace and security. This is a lady who, as late as Monday, was insulting parliamentarians in the House, Matt. Insulting parliamentarians in her sarcastic comments about IQ and this sort of thing. And she feels that she can insult opposition parliamentarians in the Parliament, and when you retaliate, she then claims, as it were, that she's above everybody else, and she must tell you to leave because you cannot see that there are demons in her. But if you play those clippings, Matt, you will see where she sat there for most of the time on Monday, insulting parliamentarians and opposition parliamentarians, and believe that people are so silly they would not understand what she was doing. She talks about knowing the rules. If you know the rules, then you are deliberately not applying the rules. And Matt, I just want to make one reference here. This thing that this lady has, that anytime somebody starts to talk about a matter that is in the court, or even when it's not in the court, but she thinks it's likely to embarrass her friends on the other side of the opposition thing in the Parliament, she jumps in and says, it's sub judice, I will not allow it. The law doesn't give her that right. The rules do not give her that right. The relevant rule about sub judice is 44(2), and it says, reference shall not be made to any matter which is sub judice, that is a matter which is there up for trial, is under trial, in such a way as might, in the opinion of the chair, prejudice the interests of parties thereto. So the person in the chair, the speaker in this case, must hear a presentation by whoever is presenting, and then forms the opinion that it is likely to prejudice the interests of the party, and then she steps in. It cannot be. The rules do not provide for her to say to Mr. Linton, for instance, the other day, as soon as he started talking about Mr. Gunn Emmanuel's letter to the FIU and other places about his suspicion that certain people in government, certain people in the Parliament might be involved in money laundering. It's not within the rules for the speaker to have done what she did. So she either does not know the rules, or she deliberately flaunts the rules to protect whom she wants to protect. And this is the speaker, and I think she challenged Mr. Linton because Mr. Linton had spoken about her salary increase, the substantial salary increase which she received the other day, which did not have parliamentary approval. It has not had parliamentary approval. As far as I'm aware, all salary increases, all salary allocations in the past have had parliamentary approval. Gratuity increases have had parliamentary approval. President's salary, parliamentary approval. It is wrong for the Speaker of the House to have received such a substantial increase in salary without the approval of the Parliament. For her to talk about challenging Mr. Linton and going to Privileges Committee and is foolishness. And especially against the background, this increase is wrong, especially against the background of the work output of Alex Boyd Knight as Speaker. But have you been following the question of the operation of the parliament. The Hansard is an essential element and essential document in the whole parliamentary procedure. If you check over the last how many years of Alex's watch since she came in there, if you have had 6 Hansards produced, you haven't had more. You understand? There is what you call the local communal parliamentary association, which she is the president of. When last they had a meeting, I'm a member of that, notwithstanding I'm not in the parliament. Can't remember when last we've had a meeting. The lady goes out on trips. As far as we're concerned, no report comes back to the CPA because there's no CPA meeting. And it's like one trip after the other. You understand? So when you look at all committees like the Standing Order Committee, the Privileges Committee, the Broadcast Committee, all those are committees that she is involved in. No meetings being called. You understand? And I heard her talking the other day, praising Mr. James, the new speaker. Mr. James is a good speaker. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. In fact, some time ago, somebody was saying, look, that guy is such a wonderful guy. He can work with the devil in hell. So when I heard Alex praising him the other day for his work, I said, that person knows what he's talking about. This young man can work with the devil in hell.
Let's take a phone call. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon. Mr. James, good afternoon.
Yes.
I want to remind you that Roosevelt Skerritt, pre-election, talked about widening that bridge, that same bridge where the accident happened. He couldn't remember the name of the bridge, and somebody had to remind him of the name, and he said, after he said he was bringing Marigot a doctor, he said he was going to widen that bridge. And Matt, why bring Marigot a doctor if you cannot give them a hospital? And look at how critical that is. We saw this accident. We understand they had to take the people to Wesley, to the accident, the temporary accident, whatever center. And now from there, where they have to go? Back to Princess Margaret Hospital. Extra mileage now. And how critical is that health facility in Marigot? And the point that was made that they have soldiers living in the place that it was proposed to have the temporary hospital, which have been a very suitable place. And how critical that health facility is also in relation to the airport. God knows Roosevelt Skerritt is the Dominica's most frequent flyer. Mr. Skerritt, do not cut your nose to spite your face. Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon. You making a point, Mr. James?
Yeah, interestingly, from what I understand, as it turned out, some of the people involved in that accident yesterday were people who have been criticizing and who've been supporting the removal of the hospital or supporting this situation in which they pay no attention to the hospital. I mean, I trust that they have a speedy recovery. I trust it's not as bad as it could be. I'm happy it's not as bad as it could be. But, there's a message there. Cut your nose to spite your face. And the bridge that we're talking about there is the Mantico Bridge that the government and Mr. Skerritt spoke about and has refused to do.
Hello, let's take a few more phone calls and wrap it up with Mr. Edison James. Hello.
Yes, man. Good afternoon. I'm listening to the program. Sometimes I don't want to get involved, but because of what people are saying, you listen well and you have to make certain points. And one of my points is, it's true, it is a non-fact for the Syrian descent or Lebanese descent people in Dominica. They are racist. There's no if about it. They have always been racist. That's why I remember in the early 70s when you had the problem with Patrick John and so, they were torn out of Dominica and a lot of them went to Antigua and the different islands. And Tony is the same person. He don't change. But what I'm saying is some of the power that Tony have were given to him by the same UWP. He was a big supporter and worker with the UWP campaign and everything. They were encouraging that same Tony Asafan in the early. So they had to take some of the blame for some of what the Tony Asafan is doing here today to Dominica. And we all know Tony Asafan and the Syrian people have always been a problem to Dominica. They have always have that racist in them and have always been a problem, and he'll always continue to be a problem. But Mr. James have to understand too that they are part of the problem.
Hold on, sir. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm
okay,
there.
Caller. I am the founding leader of the United Workers' Party of this country. And what you said about Tony Astafan being supporter and part of arrangement, that is completely, totally, and utterly untrue, sir. totally, completely, and utterly untrue.
So Astafan was never a supporter of the United Workers' Party?
Not as far as I know. I don't know who you are, but I'm saying you know me. You can engage with me when you meet me. Let's talk about it. I challenge you to
with the UWP, and I will go further to say I've been with the UWP, and we all know that. And I will go further to say probably he's part of the prickle for what all these things you all did to Eugenia Child.
When people say he's a parasite, so he might have parasitically attached to us somewhere looking for something. Because I know when we won the elections, notwithstanding what he was doing, he was one of the first persons to call my home and tell my wife to congratulate me. But I know he was never. He was also a problem for Ruzi. He wasn't there with Ruzi, but when Ruzi won, he attached himself to him. Just like, look at what's happened. Ruzi died, and you don't hear Tony. I don't think he went to the funeral, but you don't hear Tony talking about Ruzi. You don't hear Tony talking about Pierre Charles. And if, God forbid, or not God forbid, when Skerrit is no longer Prime Minister, you will not hear Tony Astafan talk about him. So, sir, when you meet me, let's have a dialogue.
All right, thank you very much. Another phone call there?
Matt, good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to Honorable Edison James, former Prime Minister of Dominica.
Good afternoon, sir.
Matt, Tony Astafan is an irresponsible element, undesirable character, and a nuisance to the community and the country on a whole. When you listen to Alex Boyd Knight, he's a vulgar woman who was on the platform of the Labour Party, from the platform to the chair. Dirty work for big money. So what we expect. When you listen to Mr. Skerrit, he's a con artist. That is what you have. We have the worst president, the worst prime minister, crime minister, the worst speaker, the worst cabinet. And you know, it's not politicians that is sitting on the government side, you know. It's politicians who are digging the eyes of Dominicans. And when Dominicans make up their mind to speak up, Matt, they are trying to take guns. Look at a person like Wayne James, Matt, who have served Dominica well. Look at the treatment that the police force is giving to a man of that magnitude, Matt. Can you imagine that? Look at the state in which Dominica is today, and you are seeing buildings going up all over by ministers of government, money spending left, right, and center. When the travel is expensive, meals expensive, hotels at the expense of taxpayers, and you are preventing the opposition from speaking. The opposition is time to give Alex Boyd Knight a dose of her own medicine, as she had said to the former power rep for Salisbury.
All right, and I think we've made that point before. Mr. James, a question here to you. Mr. James, or what is Mr. James's take on the silence, the apparent silence of the churches on this matter? Is it a situation that the country is under siege?
Well, you heard me at the all-night vigil in Melvin Hall. You heard me with my reference to the bishops, the ministers of religion, the pastors, except Pastor Rodney and one or two others, and all these people who sit back, say nothing. They admonish us on Sundays and other times in church to this and that and the other. They like to admonish politicians, they like to take on politicians, but some of them feel that politicians must not refer to them, you know. And if you're going to give guidance, you give guidance right through. And I believe that it's important for them to speak on these issues. Look at child molestation. Look at what happened. We never heard one word from them. Not one word from them. You go to the church, not one word from them. I think at a funeral, one of the pastors from the Adventists, I understand, I wasn't there, but he spoke his mind about these things. Look, they're talking about, I heard, I think I heard you make reference to some article that is out on DNO, where the coordinator of the organization dealing with child protection,
yes,
lamented that the Prime Minister had apparently indicated that the matter of
will come up before July.
Yes, of the Sexual Offences Act would come up before the end of this month, and it hasn't happened because they're not interested. They won an election and they told us you know, people who have to be interested in child molestation. But yes, to your question, I believe the churches should speak out, and if they don't speak out, forever hold their peace.
Okay, let's go. Final phone call will allow Mr. James to wrap up. Very interesting discussion this afternoon. Hello. His focus more on Attorney Anthony Astafan. He has referred to him as somebody who can be. Did you say racist?
No. You asked whether he was racist. I don't know whether it's a rhetorical question or whether it is what they call an interrogative statement. And I did not find it within me to disagree with that thought process that you had. What I say categorically, he's a man who hates black people whom he cannot control.
But that's very strong, you know.
Well, it's as strong as I can put it. He hates black people whom he cannot control and use. And Matt, I just want to say quickly that it's important for us to pay attention to the banana industry or economics or the economics of our country.
Was a meeting scheduled today, Mr. James?
There was 2 meetings, I understand, that are happening today. One Fair Trade and the minister, and probably about now the minister and DAPEX. I trust these meetings are fruitful. I believe that we need to pay more attention and make more effort.
You won't be part of it, Mr.
No, to do 2 things. I've been involved in facilitating the meetings, but I think we need to get involved in doing 2 things, expanding the market and paying attention to a proper black sigatoka control program. It has been woefully inadequate, and no matter how much bananas we produce, how much market we get, if we do not have a proper black sigatoka control program, then we are not going to get anywhere. And just to say, I do not accept that the Ministry of Agriculture does not have a role in the marketing of bananas. I believe it has to be collaborative. The farmers, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade, Dexia, and all these institutions and functionaries must get involved in ensuring that when we produce bananas, we can market the bananas. And I'm involved with a group of private sector people who are paying attention to the question of the security of our markets and the expansion of our markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Come back again. We'll stick to another issue.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Manchester United have made an incredible signing from the Caribbean. Everyone's watching Flo, a real game changer. My word, this team's giving the fans